أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة اللهم اجعل الله والموت لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون والذين هم للزكاة فاعلون والذين هم لفروجهم حافظون إلا على أزواجهم أو ما ملكت أيمانهم فإنهم غير ملومين، فمن ابتغى وراء ذلك فأولئك هم العادون والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون والذين هم على صلواتهم يحافظون أولئك هم الوارثون الذين يرثون الفردوس هم فيها خالدون. So here in the first part of these ayats, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, that the believers are successful. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started this surah off with qad. And qad in the Arabic language, it means you feel the tahqiq. It means that this is like muhaqqaq. This has already happened. The believers have already been granted this type of success and victory by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the believers they're successful with no doubt, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid out the blueprint for you to follow to be amongst these people that He is talking about. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not just going to tell you to do something and leave you without any type of guidance where you to know exactly what you need to be doing. So after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the most important things for us to pay attention to so we can have the success and we can be a part of what He's talking about in these ayats. So He said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The first thing He said, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Here He said, those that go into their salat, that they pray their prayer with khushu'. And al-khushu' in the Arabic language, it means at-tadallul wa takhaddu'. It means that you go into the salat humble and with humility, And you go in focusing only on what you're doing at that time, because you know that there's nothing on the face of this earth that is more important with your time at that time than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you to do. Not your job, not your family, and not anything else. The most important thing for you to be doing at that time is the salat, and that's how it should be treated. So when you go into the salat, you don't go into the salat thinking about what you're going to do afterwards. You don't go into the salat trying to hurry it up and get it going so you can get on to what you have to do, because what do you think that what you're trying to do after the salat is more important than what you're doing in the salat? Or is the salat more important? So if you say yes, the salat is more important, because obviously you have to say yes, then treat it like it's more important. And when you go into the salat, you focus on what you're supposed to be doing only in that salat. Don't focus on what you're going to eat after you leave, what you're going to do, you know, whose house or what friend you're going to visit, or where you're going to go afterwards. You're not falling into this ayah. You have to have khushu', and khushu' is like to lower yourself and humble yourself. And you go into the salat, you go into the prayer with humility. And you lower yourself when you're going in. You're not going in thinking about other things and being being distracted. He said after that, he said, وَالَّذِينَ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ. So those that are what? Al-Laghu. Al-Laghu is any type of speech or any type of action that has no benefit. That has no benefit. Talking about things that have no benefit, watching things that have no benefit, participating in activities that have no benefit, not in this dunya and not in the akhirah. This is laghu. And he said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ وَالْمُعْرِضُونَ. They don't partake in these types of actions. The true believer, he lives his life for benefit. Either one, he's trying to get some type of benefit in the dunya so he can take care of his family, but his most important thing that he focuses on all the time is the benefit that he's trying to get in the next life. He focuses on benefit. And any time that he's wasting outside of that, wasting his time doing things and activities, like so many people, like we see today, wasting their time on so many things on social media, watching sports activities, watching games. All these hours and hours and hours are spent on these types of activities. And you wonder why you still have only the same 4 surahs memorized from the Quran, or the same 5 surahs, or you haven't finished this, or you haven't done this, because you're spending all your time on things that have zero benefit in this life nor the next. You know, and that's foolishness. Because at least the sahib of dunya, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, two people that have like a strong desire, they'll never be full, they'll never be satisfied. What? The person that's in the dunya and the person that's involved in what? Knowledge. These two people, because at least one person he's trying to get the benefit in the dunya, the other person he's trying to get the benefit in the akhirah. What are you trying to get? Wasting your time, wasting your life. Just wasting your time on lahu, spending your time in conversations that bring no benefit, that probably bring you sin. As I mentioned before, where the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, "Man qama and majlis la yadhkuru Allah fiha, qama mithla jifat al-himar wa kana alayhi hasara." That whoever stands up from a majlis, from a sitting or a gathering, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not mentioned in that gathering, then he stands up like he's standing up from the rotting corpse of a donkey. And he'll have regret on the day of judgment for partaking in that majlis, because there's no benefit. What type of majlis do you sit in where you're not learning something about your deen, or even trying to get something from the dunya, but you waste your time with nothing? So he said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنِ اللَّغْوِ مُعْرِضُونَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. Obviously, if they fall in the category of the people that have to pay zakat, then they pay the zakat. They don't do the little hila. And you know, if his money's right here, then what he'll do is he'll go shopping and spend a little bit of money, so the money gets a little bit low and he doesn't have to pay the zakat. And then the money goes back up. He doesn't do these little trickery. If he has the money to pay for zakat, he pays it. When he has to pay it, and he gives it to the people that deserve it. After that, he said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. The people that protect their private areas. And that means that they protect themselves from falling into fornication, adultery, and other forms of things that are not permissible in this religion. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said after that, he said, إِلَّا عَلَىٰ أَزْوَاجِهِمْ, except for with their wives, أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ, or what their right hands possess. Obviously now we don't live in a time where people have right hands possessions, because these were women that were obtained from warfare. And we don't have that. So a lot of people that go overseas and they, you know, like in the Gulf region, they say, no, this is my maid, she's my right hand possession. No, she's not. All right, we don't have this anymore. So right now, all you have is your wife. And anything beyond that, and that's why he said, وَمَنْ ابْتَغَىٰ وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. And whoever seeks more than that, seeks beyond that, then أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. They're the transgressors. They're the ones that are going beyond the proper boundaries. All right, and also it has to be from a valid marriage. And I think we're going to go over that a lot in the coming future, inshallah. After that, he said, and whoever fulfills those conditions, and there's no blame on him for doing what he's doing. After that, he said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. As a Muslim, if we make a contract, if we make a promise, and anything, and we say that we're going to do something, we do it. How are we going to sit here and live in this society to where you can trust the kafir more than you can trust your own Muslim brother? So that means that we're doing something, we are backwards, if that's the case, because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. As a Muslim, if you say that you're going to do something, you do it. You make a contract with somebody, you fulfill it. You don't try to look for little loopholes and ways to get out of the contract. If that contract is something that you've agreed on, you fulfill your contract and you fulfill your duties as a Muslim. We can't live in a society as amongst us where the person feels more comfortable doing business with a kafir than he feels doing business with a Muslim because he doesn't trust the Muslims because the Muslims don't obey their contracts. If you're a Muslim, you have a contract with a brother, you obey it. You should fear Allah. You should not fear the courts of the kuffar. Your fear should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. Allahumma sta'an. After that, he said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. And those who are, they protect their salat, like حَافِظُونَ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ. And that means that they pray on time. They pray fulfilling all the conditions, all the shurut of salat. And they pray fulfilling all the arkan and all the pillars of salat. And they pray fulfilling all the wajibat. Everything that goes into the salat. They fulfill all of those conditions in their salat and they pray on time. He said after that, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْوَارِثُونَ. Those are the people that inherit. And those that inherit what? الَّذِينَ يَرِثُونَ الْفِرْدَوْسِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Those are the people that inherit the highest level of Jannah. Hum fiha khalidun, and they'll be in there everlasting. So this is about success. You talk about success, you're not going to get it sitting back waiting for it to come to you. I mean, I can give you an example. If we look at ourselves and we look at the communities and how the communities have kind of like stalemated over the years. And you go back and look at this blueprint that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has laid out for us all to follow. Success does not come with us sitting around waiting for it, and it doesn't come waiting for us just to fall out the sky. It's something that you have to strive for and you struggle for. If you look at the example of anybody that works in a company today, you sit in the same position in the company for year after year, year after year, year after year. What happens? Well, your salary goes up 50 cents, $1, or what? What's changing? Are you becoming better? But you're taking that same mentality and you're bringing it into the deen. So you sit here year after year, year after year. You learn nothing about your deen. You still got the same surahs that you memorized from before. You haven't memorized any hadith. All the ahkam of the salat, all the ahkam that you need to know to practice as a Muslim. Nothing. So this type of success that you have to struggle for, you have to strive for, you have to plan for it. It has to be something that's deliberate. It's not something that you just sit around and wait for. You have to go out and seek it to obtain it. And it's not just going to come to you by just raising your hands and sitting around and doing nothing. We put our trust in Allah. But as we put our trust in Allah, we also get to work. And success in this deen, it takes blood, sweat, tears. It takes you going through all types of trials and tribulations. Even as a community, if we wish to be successful in the community, we have to come together and work together to fulfill the things that you see. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the surah. And we have to work together, and we're all going to be tried and tested together. But we all have to be patient. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned another way of being successful. We said, إِنَّمَا كَانَ قَوْلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذَا دَعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ أَنْ لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَهُمْ أَنْ يَقُولُوا what? أَنْ يَقُولُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ وَيَتَّقِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. So here in these two ayat, he mentioned success 2 times. The first time he said that verily the statement of the believers, when it comes time for the judgment of Allah and His Messenger, to say what? We hear and we obey. I don't care about your emotions, and nobody cares about your feelings about something. And when you know that this is something that is a command of Allah and a command of His Messenger, we hear and we obey. Just like the people used to say before, with all the arguments, why do people keep continuing arguing? Why do the arguments continue? Because the ignorant person doesn't want to shut up. Once you let the knowledge speak and you go back and فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ ذِكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know something, you go back to the people of knowledge. And the people of knowledge, they're the people that will guide you to the understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah. And once you know what it is that you have to do, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. We hear and we obey. And we carry out those commands. And the prohibitions, we stay away from it. Then he said, أَن يَقُولُوا سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And these people, they are the successful. He said, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger. وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ. And we talked about khashya from before. Al-khashya is fear that has its basis, its root in knowledge. You cannot have khashya from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without knowledge. So this is a prerequisite for you to have khashya, that you have to go get knowledge of this deen. And he said, وَيَخْشَى اللَّهَ وَيَتَّقِي. And whoever has taqwa and khashya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَائِزُونَ. Then those are the victorious ones. That's how you get victory. That's how you get victory, to obedience to Allah, obedience to His Messenger, and learning this deen and practicing this deen the way that it's meant to be practiced. We don't get success any other way. And don't try to find success any other way. Because if you do, you're going to fail, and we're all going to fail together. Wallahu musta'an. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala ashraf al-anbiya wal mursaleen, Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ وَاصْبِرُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا. Don't argue amongst each other, and you differ amongst each other. And as we talked about in the last khutbah, the main reason why people differ amongst each other is because one group wants to follow the Quran and the Sunnah, and another group wants to follow something else. Follow their own desires, follow their own understanding, follow their own emotions, or whatever. We all have to come together, and we understand this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to do, this is what His messengers commanded us to do, and we work together to fulfill those obligations upon us as Muslims. But that tanazur, that argument, that differing and that fighting that comes amongst people when they start to differ because of what? Following the desires and following something other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger have ordered us to do. And He said, if you do this, what did He say? وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا. Then you're going to lose. If you start to do this, and you understand, like, our whole goal in this life is only to please Allah. It's not to please the people. It's not to please the people. We don't live our lives trying to please the people. We are living our lives from the day that we're born until the day that we die, trying to get as close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get as high of a level of iman in this life so we can get the highest status that we can in the next life. So we don't have to be punished in the grave and punished in the hellfire. That's all we strive for. So knowing that we're not trying to please the people, we should be trying to work together to do what? To get everybody on the same page of this type of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and trying to please Allah and His Messenger and fulfilling the rights that Allah has over us first. That's the most important thing that we have in this life. And if we fail to do that, just like He said, فَتَفْشَلُوا, then you're gonna be from amongst the losers. He said, وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ, that your unity. The rih here, it means your what? وَحْدَتُكُمْ. Because here, the Muslims, and this is in the time of the Sahaba, everybody's on the correct guidance. But if they start to differ, what? Then your unity will disperse, and then you start fighting amongst each other. And we saw that in the generations after the Sahaba, when people started going against the correct guidance, and they started causing all types of fasad amongst the Muslims. And we saw all the fighting and the killing, and we still see this till today. Because of why? The people still want to go trying to do the same thing that the people did before, thinking that what? They're going to get a different result. You don't get a different result when you obey shaitan. You're going to get the same exact result. problems, fitna between the people. Our unity, it comes from the Quran and the Sunnah. This is the only way that we're going to be united together. And the only way is that we work together to establish what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the commands of Allah, the commands of His Messenger on this earth, in our communities, in our homes, amongst ourselves. And that's what we go back to. So when it comes down to something that we have to do, sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, wasbiru. Inna Allaha ma'a sabirin, because that requires patience. It requires patience, because just as you believe, know that you're going to be tested day in and day out. As we try to strive, the more that we try to do, the more we're going to be what? Going to be tested. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسَ أَن يُتْرَكُوا, do the people think that they're going to be, أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا, that they're going to say that they believe in Allah, and the last day, they believe in Allah and they're not going to be tested? He said, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ, verily we've tested all of the people that have gone before you. فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the people who are truthful. Truthful in what? That their actions, that they back up their statements with what? With actions. With actions. وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ, and the people that run around and they just say things with their tongues, but they don't back it up with their actions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them what? Kadhibin, liars. Because, and the last thing that I mentioned here is what the Prophet ﷺ said, and in similar regards, he said, إِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً. And what did he say? He said that verily there's an organ in the heart. There's an organ in the body, sorry. إِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. If it's upright and it's correct, that means that we fill it up with Iman, with Tawheed and Quran and Sunnah and everything that you have to believe as a Muslim. صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. Then the whole body will become upright. The actions will be upright. The statements will be upright. Everything will fall in line with the Quran and the Sunnah. وَإِذَا فَسَدَ what? إِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. And if it becomes corrupt, now you're going outside looking for other things, then the whole body becomes corrupt. The actions become corrupt, the statements become corrupt. He said, and then after that he said, أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبُ. And he said, and verily it's the heart. So this is what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the knowledge that is essential for us to know, so we can start establishing this in our communities, amongst ourselves, in our houses, so we can be from amongst the successful. Allahumma ij'alna min al-faizin al-muflihin fi ad-dunya wal-akhirah. Allahumma thabbitna ala hadha ad-din hatta nalqaka bihi walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Aqim as-salat.